let's separate to another one. Okay, operator and operator inverse. This is interesting, but don't worry about it. But it helps you to think, okay? Help you to realize what you're learning. Okay, now this is 1, right? This is 2, right? This is 3, right? Okay, now is the time for you to wake up to realize that this is a symbol represent an abstract concept of 3. Okay, last time we just eat what? This is 3 what? Why? Because we have something called 10. 10, okay? But 10, this is 10. 2 symbols. 2 symbols because we don't have 1 symbol for 10. But how about Chinese? We can, okay? 1 symbol for 10, okay? Chinese wins, okay? But Chinese is dead, okay? 11 you still have 2, okay? So, symbols, okay? These are the symbols. So basic symbols is 0. We have very basic symbol, which is 1, 2, 3, all the way until from 0, okay? 9, simple. And then we have 4 more symbols. It's the operator, plus, minus, time, and divide. Okay, or other symbols are equal these things to represent something you want to express. Okay, so let's talk about all this operator. Okay, so we have this thing called 3 things to learn. Actually, this is chapter 0 of all the maths. I don't know why Singapore don't teach. Hong Kong also don't teach. China, no, not really. In the university they teach. But something which should be chapter 0 of all the maths that you must know. Okay, whatever. Today we wake up. Okay, 3 things we need to learn is that we have operator. Okay, we have identity. We have inverse. Okay, inverse seems to be the most familiar one. Okay, you always have about inverse function, inverse this and inverse that, right? Inverse. Okay, identity you also heard of something from matrix. Operator it doesn't much. Okay, but it's the same inverse that we talk about. Okay, one more writing the inverse. Okay, inverse operator identity inverse. Okay, so the first things to learn is that how to identify what is an identity. Okay, all these things, right? You have to say that operator's identity and it's an operator inverse. Okay, so what's the meaning of operator identity? It's the identity under that operator. Okay, so if you have an object A, okay, do an operation with operator with another thing, okay, will give you back A, and if you have these things, you op back the A, you give you back these things, okay, then this thing is called the identity. Okay, that's how we define what is identity. Okay, team, right?
That is matrix.
Matrix you found it in this way, right? Okay, matrix can, vector can, everything can, even plus minus divide multiply also can. Okay, I'm going to very simple. Okay, so for example, if I have 3, if the operator is a plus, okay, so what gives me back equivalent to 3?
0.
Yeah. On the other hand, when I have 0 with this operator with 3, I will get back 3. So therefore 0 is a additional identity. Okay, easy. Okay, so on the other hand, if I have 0, but this operator now change time, then this got to be 1. It cannot be 0. Okay, 1 times 3 equal to 3. Therefore 1, right, is a multiplications identity. Wait, there's no n here. What's my English? Okay, interesting. Okay, so this is how we define identity. So the idea is that different operator have different identity. Some identity are the same. Function have identity functions. Matrix have identity matrix. If it's 2 by 2 with 2 by 2, the identity is different. 3 by 3 or 3, the identity is different. So every operator has its identity. Okay. So this is why we say this is identity. Okay? So after you know what is identity, right, then we know what is inverse. Okay, because inverse is defined as if I say the A ORs with another thing B will give me back identity, and B OR with A will give me back identity, then we will say B is the inverse of A. Okay, we put -1 there, is not a, it's just inverse function. Okay, that's how we define an inverse function. Inverse. Okay, then what is this? We call it the operator inverse. Okay, so if that's the case, right? If that's the case, if I have a 3, the operator is this. Okay, now first you need to know what's the identity first. The identity is 0, right? Okay. So so our identity is 0. So what do I put here to make it 0?
-3.
-3. So -3, right, is the inverse. Is the inverse of 3 under additions. Addition inverse. Okay. So all 0, right? And then make it a bit faster. Okay. So if the operator is the time, the identity is 1, right? So what is that?
Oh, 1/3.
1/3, you're right. So 1/3 is actually the multiplication inverse of 3. 1/3 is the multiplication inverse of 3. Okay? So this is called multiplication inverse, this is called addition inverse. These are the identity. Okay, so you need to know identity, then you know the inverse. Okay? So okay, so now we can answer a question of divisions.
What is this?
These are nonsense. Okay? You don't really need it in maths, but this is like chapter 0 of everything, and why 3 plus -3 goes 0, that kind of things. Okay, operator identity and inverse. Okay, so what is this? Okay, this, right, now when you have operator's inverse, that is the inverse under that operator. Okay, now then we have an inverse operator. Okay, now the inverse is the object. Okay, this object is this one's inverse under additions. Okay, but then because of this, right, we derive something called inverse operator. Inverse operator. The inverse operator, right, we define it this way. Is if A or A inverse, we know is identity, right? Okay, the idea is this. Okay, so we can do I or A, get back to I. Okay, this is what we call the inverse operator. Okay, so this is why, right, if I have a 3, I need an operator here, and I need a 3, I need to make a multiplication identity. You need to put an inverse of the operator. So that's called an inverter operator. Okay, so that's how they define an invert operator. So that's where the divisions comes in the world. Okay, so how about if I put a 0 here? What is this?
Inverse of plus.
Inverse of plus is a minus. Okay, so this is called an inverse operator of the plus operator. Okay, and so today I teach you 4 things. Okay, operator, identity, inverse was inverse operator. Okay, who cares about those things? Okay, because it's always good to learn something, that realize something that you actually know. Okay, and one more thing is that you sometimes it says that this is 3 and this is inverse of 3, right? We just very fast and just speak it this way, inverse, right? Actually we say, yeah, inverse means in this case is multiplication, also this is reciprocal. Okay, so 1 over is the inverse, but it's not very accurate because inverse of 3 under addition can be -3. The inverse of a function need not to be 1 over it because the relationship is not multiplication. It's a function. Okay, so you need to come out inverse function, identity function, those things. Okay? Okay, anyway, not doing math. Okay, let's break to another chapter. This is nonsense.